Thaos is presented as the antagonist of Pillars of Eternity 1, but were his actions actually justified? Thousands of years before the start of the game, his people were locked in religious wars for generations, while people like Thaos studied animancy in order to find those gods in the hopes of putting an end to the fighting. What would you do if your people were engaged in never-ending religious wars, and, after spending years of studying how to find God, you wind up proving that God does not exist? That is the question that Thaos and his colleagues faced, a fateful question that would affect the lives of millions in the land of Eora for thousands of years, regardless of the answer. Would you let the truth be known and risk shattering the lives of the faithful, perhaps seeing them rise in arms to defend their faith against perceived blasphemy, risking societal decay due to the loss of trust in structure and systems guiding morality? Would you hide the truth, risking the possibility of it leaking out through a means you cannot control? Or would you put the knowledge you gained in your quest to find God to use and create gods under which you could attempt to unite people peacefully? Facing a deep moral dilemma, Thaos chose the third option, a choice that would lead to a brutal inquisition to hide the truth, and eventually necessitate, at least in his eyes, the so-called Widewen's legacy. But was he wrong to do so? Or would one of the other choices have led to even greater harm? Thaos' actions, while understandably viewed as immoral by many, would have been viewed as perfectly justified by real-world philosophers that advocate the utilitarian approach to ethics. Utilitarianism is a family of ethics whose adherents believe that the ends justify the means. They believe in the principle of utility. This guiding principle states that one should always act in favor of the greatest good for the greatest number of people. Given a choice to save many people by sacrificing a few, a utilitarian would see the refusal of the sacrifice as immoral. By failing to perform the sacrifice, you would essentially condemn the larger group to death, no different than if you killed them yourself. Thaos' predicament is an excellent study in the ethics of utilitarianism. Thaos' people were at war with each other, religious wars, waged over gods that no one could see or speak to. If they were willing to kill for a being they could never have a dialogue with, could they reasonably be expected to accept the fact that their God did not exist? To just lay down their weapons and live alongside the enemies that they saw as blasphemers? Would stripping the faithful of religion also strip them of the restrictions and lessons on morality enforced by religion, perhaps leaving those disillusioned more inclined to do harm to others for selfish gain or simply for pleasure? Focusing on the time of the Unguithans, Thaos' actions led to the end of war. The game shows several depictions of what war was like in Eora. Brutal deaths, the burning of villages, the rape of women, and the desire for vengeance felt by the victims. Thaos stopped it all. He sacrificed thousands in sun and shadow to save many thousands more from the horrors of war. Among the gods, Boudica was created to serve as the god of gods, created to be stronger than the rest, the goddess of justice, oaths, and promises, sat at the top of the pantheon. Also, like Thaos, Boudica believed that the ends justify the means. The other gods conspired to change the order of things. They rebelled against her, burning her in Magrant's fire, leaving her gravely injured and reduced to an equal footing with the other gods. This put Thaos' plan at risk. After carefully creating a structure to ensure order, the structure was no more. If none of the gods ruled over the others, then who did rule? What would become of the world as its inhabitants fell victim to the scheming of the gods, now that they could challenge one another without fear of Boudica keeping them in their place? Having a single, uncontested ruler would reduce the likelihood of this. Restoring Boudica to her position as the god above the rest would ensure the people of Eora would not have to suffer the gods' bickering. Thaos sought to empower his favored god by redirecting the souls of the soon-to-be-born to the machine at Sun and Shadow, sacrificing the few born during the period of the Hollowborn crisis in order to save many thousands more, in order to secure the cultures and societies that had flourished since his decision to create the gods in the first place, and in order to restore the order he had intended so that the world would not descend into the chaos he sought to prevent. Viewed through this lens, Thaos could be considered the hero of Pillars of Eternity, the one whose plan to save millions was thwarted by those who could not understand or accept his actions would save far more lives than it would cost. Is there a price too high for peace? Is ensuring the safety of the entire world over a relatively small group the greater moral good? I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section.